Greetings. This is Brenda Lopez, Assistant Director for the Oxnard Housing Authority. Today I will be presenting the 5-year agency plan and the annual plan. The 5-year PHA and the annual agency plan provide a description of the Housing Authority's basic regulations, requirements, and operational program policies. The current 5-year PHA plan was adopted in 2020. The annual agency plan outlines any revisions, new activities, and progress towards the PHA's goals and objectives. The plans are required by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD, under Code of Federal Regulations 24 CFR Part 903. The plans also serve as an application for the Capital Fund Grant, which provides funding for capital improvements for the public housing units owned by the Housing Authority. These plans must be submitted to HUD by April 16th of 2024. This year, the Section 8 and the Public Housing Program Policy Plans will be substantially updated to bring the agency into compliance with the Housing Opportunity Through Modernization Act, HOTMA, which was signed into law on July 29, 2016. However, HUD did not publish guidance on how PHAs would implement certain sections that impact housing assistance programs until September 29th of 2023. Housing authorities are now required to be in compliance with these changes by January the 1st, 2025. The proposed revisions to the programs are summarized as follows. Assets are now defined as all family assets with enumerated exclusions. There are also new rules on how income from the assets is calculated. Household annual income will now be projected at new admissions. However, for annual reexaminations, the income will be based on prior 12 months. HOTMA has established a new asset limitation. Families can no longer participate in the program if they have more than $100,000 in total assets or ownership in a real property where they can live. The Oxnard Housing Authority will adopt any grace periods allotted by federal regulations when terminating families who are no longer eligible to participate in the program due to this new asset limitation. HUD Form 9886, which is an authorization to release information, will now only require signature once. The Housing Authority will deny admission or terminate assistance for revocation of such consent. PHAs will no longer be out of compliance solely due to minimis errors. These are PHA errors in an amount of less than $30 per month in the household income calculation. However, corrective action must be taken if a family is overcharged. Interim income reexaminations are not required for decreases in adjusted income of 10% or less. However, they are required if the family's unearned income increases by more than 10%. The Housing Authority will conduct an interim reexamination for any decreases in income reported by the family. However, the Housing Authority will not process an interim income reexamination if the family reports an increase of 10% or more in their unearned income if their annual recertification is due within 3 months. In addition, HOTMA eliminates the Earned Income Disregard Program. Only families already participating may continue to receive the benefit for the 2 years. The EID program allowed families to have a portion of their earned income excluded from the annual income for a maximum of 2 years. Mandatory deductions will now be adjusted annually. HOTMA also establishes that the sum of unreimbursed health and medical expenses need to exceed 10% of the family's annual income in order for them to be deducted. This used to be 3%. The Oxnard Housing Authority will adopt hardship exemptions for facing families who face financial hardship as a result of this change, and for continued child care expenses. Participants may self-certify their assets if they are less than $50,000. The Oxnard Housing Authority will accept self-certifications. PHAs may use other means tested federal public assistance program income documentations. When available and if applicable, the Housing Authority will use other program income determinations as appropriate. PHAs are no longer required to use the Enterprise Income Verification Income Report. The Housing Authority will use such report as needed. In addition, the Department of Housing and Urban Development regulations permit for public housing authorities to establish local preferences based on local housing needs and priorities. In December of 2023, the city of Oxnard was affected by rain from an offshore Pacific storm, which resulted in many floodings. In reviewing the program's existing local preferences adopted by the PHA, it was noted that there needed to be a revision in order to better respond to such unforeseen circumstances. Therefore, the recommendation is that the existing preference be revised as follows. Families will be considered to be involuntarily displaced if They're displaced as a result of an improvement or development project to which the housing authority has ownership interest and no suitable units available, or displaced by a government declaration of an emergency such as a natural disaster, or if displaced as a result of an extenuating circumstance as certified by the housing director. An extenuating circumstance will not include an individual whose tenancy was terminated for cause or individuals who do not have a legally binding landlord-tenant relationship. These omissions will still be subject to the Oxnard housing residence preference. The proposed revision for this preference was also submitted to HUD for review, and any modifications will be adopted. The activities that the Oxnard Housing Authority intends to undertake in 2024 is the continuation of the conversion of public housing to project-based program. Last year, the Housing Authority initiated activities related to the repositioning of its public housing inventory, which is also referred to conversion. This action will provide a more stable stream of subsidy and is more conducive to raising debt and equity. In 2024, the Oxnard Housing Authority will continue the activities, including physical needs assessments, financial analysis, environmental reviews, and development of an asset repositioning plan. Project-based voucher program. The Housing Authority will continue searching for opportunities to apply for new voucher allocations for project-based vouchers. These vouchers are tied to a specific unit. And lastly, the Housing Authority will complete an analysis to determine if the Housing Authority is in the position to compete for the Department of Housing and Urban Development's Choice Neighborhoods Grant. If so, an application will be submitted. This grant leverages public and private dollars to support local strategies by PHAs that address struggling neighborhoods with distressed public HUD-assisted housing through a comprehensive approach that transforms not only the units but the neighborhood as well. As mentioned earlier, the purpose of the Capital Fund program is to maintain and preserve the integrity of the housing units owned by the Oxnard Housing Authority. For 2024, the Housing Authority is requesting a Capital Fund budget of $1,057,000. Out of this, $870,000 will be used towards capital improvements, specifically the ongoing 504 conversion project, which is a multi-phase project through which 18 existing units are being converted to ensure that they're accessible for individuals with disabilities. This is required by HUD. And also 4 alley repairs for the major alley that runs at the Colonia Village project. Any remaining funds will be allocated towards administrative expenses. The proposed revisions and changes were published for public comment as required by HUD for 45 days starting November 16, 2023. Staff held public meetings on December 7, 2023 and January 18, 2024. There were no objections or written comments. One verbal comment was received, which is if a pie chart can be created of the annual Capital Fund program. The response is that yes, although the actual CFPB must be created using HUD Form 50075, staff will create a pie chart for the PowerPoint presentations with conducted public meetings in the future. Therefore, the recommendation is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing, and Economic Development Committee recommend that the Board of Commissioners, 1, hold a public hearing to receive comments concerning the 5th year of the 5-year Public Housing Agency Plan, the 2024 Capital Fund Budget, and the Capital Fund 5-year Action Plan. And 2nd, to adopt a resolution, which will be approving the 2024 Annual Agency Plan, the 5-year Public Housing Agency Plan for the Housing Authority of the City of Oxnard, authorizing and directing the chairman to execute the Department of Housing and Urban Development Public Housing Agency Certification Compliance Form certifying the Housing Authority's compliance with federal policies and procedures, authorizing the Housing Director to execute and submit all reports, documents, and all other certifications required to comply with policies and procedures by the Department of Housing and Urban Development regarding the Annual Agency Plan and the 5-year Public Housing Agency Plan, and approving the 2024 Capital Fund Budget and Capital Fund 5-year Action Plan, and lastly, authorizing the Housing Director to accept and expend the funds as indicated in the 2024 Capital Fund Budget and the Capital Fund 5-year Action Plan. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.